Welcome into the Commanders Report Mailbag segment. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and today it's one of my favorite segments of the week because I get to talk Commanders football with you guys on the topics that you want to discuss. So if you want to get a question on a future edition of the Commanders Report Mailbag, all you got to do is click that subscribe button and join us for our live shows every single Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time when we film these things, and you guys can get your questions in for free and get your questions on the show and give yourself a voice on one of the largest Commanders talk shows here on YouTube. Okay, now I'll pause and open it up for questions, starting with my man Eugene, who's always getting questions in on these mailbags, saying, David Bakhtiari wants to play Washington. Do you sign him? If I am the Commanders, I would want to sign him. Now, he also said in his interview with Adam Schefter that he wants to play for a contender. And the Commanders have pretty much a 0% chance to win the Super Bowl this year because they have a rookie quarterback. No rookie has ever won a Super Bowl in NFL history. And they've got a first-year head coach. And first-year head coaches usually don't do well, in the playoffs either. So I think Bakhtiari probably wants to go to a team like the Chiefs, who could still use a left tackle. He'd like to win a ring before he officially hangs them up. I think if Washington is the only team willing to give him a contract by the time training camp comes around, yeah, maybe he'll sign with Washington. But I think that's really the only way he'll end up being a Commander this year. Then we got one from Jasmine Gray here. It says, Jack, I have a question for you. Is the Washington Commanders will sweep or split the Cowboys this year?
Neither.
Coop says neither. He thinks the Cowboys are going to sweep the
Cowboys will split.
I'm going to say the Commanders sweep the Cowgirls this year. How about that? Like the video if you hate the freaking Dallas Cowboys, man. Jaden Daniels is going to be their worst nightmare for the next decade plus, Jasmine. I can't wait to see him cut up that Cowboys defense now that Dan Quinn is no longer there. Then we got one from Roy Jenkins. He says, how much better do you think Stephon Gilmore would make the Commanders secondary this year? A lot better. And I've said it a lot on the show. I think not only would he be your number one corner right away, and he'd be a good one. Like, he was a legit number one corner on a really good playoff team last year in the Dallas Cowboys. All right, that team was legit. Okay, and he was their number one guy for the entire season in the same defensive scheme headed by this team's head coach, and the defensive coordinator now was his secondaries coach. So he's got great connections with everybody in the building. But then also he would be kind of like the Bobby Wagner to this secondary here, where he'd be that mentor for guys like Emmanuel Forbes and Benjamin St-Juste and Quan Martin, all these younger players that are here that are still learning the ropes of the National Football League game. And I just don't see any reason why Stephon Gilmore wouldn't be a benefit to the Washington Commanders. If he has any, interest in joining this football team, if I'm Adam Peters, I'm getting him on the phone right now. Now, with Stephon Gilmore, the Commanders would have a top blank defense in the NFL. Answer this question for me down there in the comment section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. And when that happens, take advantage of that time by letting me know how good you think the Commanders' defense can be with Stephon Gilmore. Then we got one from Jonathan Taylor, my man. Says Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint has a better chance of making the team than Dax Milne, or deserves it more, in my opinion. He's the new guy on the block here, Coop. He's the exciting undrafted free agent that made an awesome catch in rookie minicamp. And I get why fans certainly think Rosemy-Jacksaint would be more valuable. I just think that with Milne's experience with special teams, and as well, he's been on a 53-man roster before. I feel like it's going to be close. Don't get me wrong. There's a good little group here between like Dax Milne, Mitchell Tinsley, Rosemy-Jacksaint. There's a little group of receivers there that are going to be fighting for that last wide receiver spot on this roster. But just right now, I think Dax Milne, somebody with more experience, somebody with special teams value here, is more likely to get the job. Then we got one from Jax or Jakes. I hope I'm saying whichever one there. It says, who's the one team that you will think we have to beat out to make the playoffs? So it's going to be a lot of teams, man. There's going to be, if the Commanders, if you guys watch my Commanders record prediction video, I'll probably put this in the comments and description today, so you guys can check that out after you watch today's video. I have them going 7-7 to start the season. That puts you firmly in the playoff race for the final 3 weeks of the year. Have them losing the final 3 games of the year, finishing 7-10. But there's going to be a lot of teams vying for those final couple spots in the wild card there in the NFC this year. So it's a whole hodgepodge of teams that are probably going to be fighting for that spot. All right, before we get into the rest of your questions this week, if you want a brand new Jayden Daniels Commanders jersey and you want to help out the channel, this is your chance to do so by going to chatsports.com/Daniels. If you use that link, I'll put it in the comments and description of today's show. You click that link, then you make a purchase. Our friends at Fanatics are going to send us part of the proceeds from your purchase to help us make more Commanders content for free for you guys right here on the channel. So if you're planning on getting a Jayden Daniels jersey regardless, and you want to help out the channel as well, this is your opportunity to do so. Go chatsports.com/Daniels to get your Jayden Daniels jersey in your closet today. Got one from Jet Miller, says, which Commanders O-Lineman do we need to have a breakout season this year? There's multiple guys, if I'm being honest with you, Jet. You need, Andrew Wiley to have a bounce-back season. You need Nick Allegretti to really prove that he's worth being an everyday starter, an every week starter in the league. And Coop saying Stromberg. Stromberg would be nice. He'd have to play guard because Biotish is going to be the starting center. Also, Brandon Coleman. That's probably going to be my final answer here. If Brandon Coleman in his rookie season can be a legit NFL left tackle, that's going to fix a lot of the problems on the Commanders O-line because you got your most important position locked up, okay? But the thing is, Coleman did not have a good season last year with TCU. He had like a below 55 PFF grade last year. The Senior Bowl was really rough. He was one of, if not the worst offensive tackle at the Senior Bowl this year. Foot speed's not great. Tested great, and that's why he got drafted in the third round, and he's big, and he's got long arms, and, he's got the physical skill set to do it. But I think he's going to need at least a year before he develops. Now, you tell me. Let me know down there in the comments section which Commanders offensive lineman must perform well this year in order to protect Jayden Daniels this season and have success offensively. Let me know down there in the comments section which offensive lineman needs to perform. Then we go on from my man Comfy, says, out of the two vet signings, who will get more touchdowns this season, Ekeler or Ertz? I would have to say Ertz. Ertz is going to be more of a red zone threat as a tight end, as a bigger body, as a contested catch threat in the red zone. Ekeler is going to be more of like that scat back, third downs. Brian Robinson Jr. is really going to dominate the snaps this year, in my opinion, just because Ekeler is, he's getting up there in age, man. He doesn't have much juice left in the tank. And you're trying to get the most out of Ekeler, trying to keep him fresh for those third down situations. But I don't think Eckler's going to get much goal line work this year. It's going to go pretty much all to Brian Robinson, who's the bigger back, obviously. So I think Ertz will have more touchdowns this year. Make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. If you are a Commanders Report real one, the real ones know that clicking that thumbs up icon tells the YouTube algorithm that you're enjoying our content and that they should recommend it to other Commanders fans like yourself. So make sure you click that thumbs up icon right now to help out our channel today. Then we got one from Eugene again, says, Coop, I have a different question. What are the last three areas of concern for the team? Offensive line, edge, cornerback. I mean, that feels good, but I think that they feel good about where they are with edge rusher because people don't see Jamin Davis as an edge rusher, but that's how they're going to use him this year. They're going to use him as, kind of a hybrid linebacker defensive end type player like they used Micah Parsons, for example. Remember, Micah was an inside linebacker coming into the league, and then they converted him to an edge rusher over his time there with the Cowboys. That's what they're trying to do with Jamin Davis. And then you have Dorrance Armstrong on the other side, and I think that's perfectly fine. So I think that the Commanders feel like they're good at edge rusher because behind them, right, you've got Anthony Pittman, who can play that hybrid role. You've got Dante Fowler Jr., who can play that Dorrance Armstrong role in a pinch, right? So I think that they feel pretty good about edge. Offensive line for sure, cornerback for sure, and then receiver. Why not? Throw receiver in there. If you want to go and get a Michael Thomas to make this room better, if you want to go out and get, splurge on a Brandon Ayuk, as long as you don't overpay for him, I'd be fine with that as well, especially because of his connection with Jayden Daniels. Good question here, Eugene, but if I have to pick three, I'd probably pick offensive line, corner, and then receiver. Then we got one from Patrick Mandan. It says, how much of a role do you think Luke McCaffrey will play in year one? Didn't you say you didn't like his college film? Wasn't a huge fan of his college film. On my draft notes, I said if this guy's name was Luke Johnson, he'd be a 6th or 7th round pick. He didn't play. He tested very well. For his size, I think he ran in the 4.4s. and that's a really good time. But he played slow on his Rice film. He was not fast out of his breaks. He could get jammed at the line of scrimmage because he wasn't quick enough. He didn't run the cleanest, crispest routes as other guys in this class. He's somebody that still needs to develop quite a bit. And to his credit, he's still new to the position. So maybe he's made massive steps during the draft process. Just on his film, it was so underwhelming. And I just feel like his draft stock might have been elevated because of his last name and the pedigree he comes from. Sounds like a great kid. Definitely works hard. He shows up with Jaden Daniels at 5:45 in the morning every day to work. So I hope that with that awesome physical skill set, that pedigree, he ends up working out. But let me know down there in the comment section, will Luke McCaffrey be wide receiver 3 by the end of the year? I think we all assume that Terry McLaurin and John Dotson will be the number 1 and number 2 options here. But let me know, will McCaffrey rise up the ranks here in year 1? Give me a yes or no. We got one more question here from Jeet. Jeet, I like the profile picture, by the way, too. It says, what is the one player that you think has the best chance of breaking out? The best chance. And, I'm going to exclude rookies. I would say Jaden Daniels, but to have a breakout season, you have to already be in the league, in my opinion. No, I'm going to go with Jahan Dotson. I'm going to go with Jahan. He's a former first-round pick. Had a down year last year. Lots of people are doubting him, but I still think he's massively talented. I think with a better quarterback in place this year, things are going to go a lot better for Jahan Dotson. And I think he's going to have one hell of a year. Also, Quan Martin, keep your eye on him. Also, keep your eye on Emmanuel Forbes. If he can develop and he fits in well with this awesome, aggressive style of defense, Emmanuel Forbes could get lots of interceptions. Now, that'll be it for this week's Mailbag, man. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Again, next Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure you click that subscribe button and join us then if you want to get a question on next week's Commanders Report Mailbag.